what is it about Jordan Peterson that he would have a debate with atheists about if he wasn't?
If you can't identify him as anything other than Jordan Peterson.
No, I guess you could just say believer in God versus 20 atheists.
But he would take exception of that. What do you mean by believe in God?
Then why agree to this is the question.
That's the strangest. That's why. And this poor kid who's debating him, and Peterson basically shows up and go, "Oh no, I've actually just been teleported here. I'm not." I mean, it's almost like Freaky Friday, where Jordan Peterson shows up, but it's just his body, and it's actually some other person.
I've been body swapped with somebody.
I've been body swapped. I didn't know about this. I didn't prepare for this at all. I'm only 7. Good.
Danny, nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Danny.
Danny.
You say atheists worship things or people or places, whatever. Can you be very clear about your definition of worship again?
Attend to, prioritize, and sacrifice for.
Okay, that's it. That's your understanding of worship.
Well, I could flesh it out, but that'll do for the time we have.
Okay. Do Catholics attend to Mary?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So do they fit that description of worship?
Yes.
So you would say Catholics and other people that revere Mary, like the Eastern Orthodox tradition, worship Mary.
Well, they might not put her in the highest
But
place.
you would put it that way.
No.
You just said it. Now you're taking it back.
There's
now?
still a hierarchy.
Okay, there's a hierarchy, but within the
There's something at the top.
All right, you can worship things
Mary is
below.
quite a ways up the hierarchy, but not at the top.
Let's go over your definition of worship again. What's your definition of worship?
Attend to.
Attend to.
Prioritize.
Do Catholics
sacrifice for.
What do Catholics attend to? Do they prioritize Mary over all other human beings?
No, I didn't say overall, did I? I didn't add that to my definition.
You understand.
I said there was a hierarchy as well.
You attend to
So you can attend to something trivially, or you can attend to it deeply.
Okay, now you're adding stuff to the definition, but your original definition.
I added the hierarchy part at the beginning.
Are you familiar?
Just didn't understand it.
Are you familiar with the Immaculate Conception?
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure.
All right. Are you familiar with their doctrines?
Somewhat.
Okay, you're familiar.
Doctrines are very
how do they
deep.
regard Mary?
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
Well,
and I mean
either you're a Christian or you're
I won't
not.
talk to you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell you.
You don't have to tell me. I was under the impression I was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video.
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
Bravo on the quick wit on that kid to turn that phrase around on him. Oh my goodness. You're really quite nothing, aren't you?
I just don't understand. What was it he didn't want to? I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure I followed what the debate was about there. And it just seemed to get short-circuited.
Because Mary is like the mother of Jesus, as opposed to Jesus, who's, or God, who you're supposed to be worshiping at the top of the hierarchy, I think is maybe what he was alluding to.
But I think the point is that Peterson is making an argument that atheists are also worship a God. It's just they don't refer to it as a God.
Yeah.
Because they have some guiding principle. But I'm just guessing. I mean, I also think that's sort of like what if anything you worship is a God in that instance, it really has to do with what he said in terms of like what Peterson himself said about prioritizing and where they sit upon like their ability to impact the world. There's a difference between a God that you think is all-knowing and all-controlling or has set up. I mean, different people have different theologies, But if you call everything a god, then yes, nobody's an atheist.
But Catholics would not say that they would not say that they worship Mary, right? So that's why, like, they may believe. Matt, you can talk about it.
I mean, I don't know.
But I mean, I did a little
All I
research
know is
before.
that you,
All it
the
is
Knicks are your god.
I think all he was doing was trying to get Jordan Peterson into the murky waters of the fantastical things about religion that Jordan Peterson definitely does not literally believe in the sense that, in the common sense of the word belief. And when Jordan Peterson could sense that, and that's why he got really sort of leery about even being called a Christian, because Jordan Peterson, like I said, does not believe the way that, people you might know who are religious, that there's a God sitting there ready to pass your judgment on you, your soul, when you die. He doesn't believe in that.
Right. Worship in Catholicism, is my understanding, it's supposed to just be for one God, for the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, right? And that there's Mary, there's John, there's saints and all that, but that you're not supposed to worship them or put them over God, which is part of what he's. I mean,
Catholics definitely do love Mary. My grandma has a Mary statue down the hall. It freaks me out every time I was staying over there to get up and go to the bathroom.
Okay, but I'm just trying to clarify, just because the internet says that you're not supposed to worship Mary, so that's just at the very least.
Well, I don't know about. I mean, I have no.
Well, is it worshiping her if you put a small statue of her down at the end of the hall in front of a mirror?
What was his contention? That, like, do we have his, like, what his claim was? I mean, that's the bizarre thing about it is, it feels like what happened is that, there was a little bit of back and forth in my instance. I imagine this is the same process. Like, at one point they said, do you want to debate libertarians? And I was like, well, I do that on my show, and they don't seem to be terribly relevant right now. I said, I would just rather debate conservatives. And they may have said, like, do you want a Democratic and Republicans? And I'm like, no, I want to talk more about specific sort of policies. I suspect maybe what happened with Peterson is they couldn't come up with a thing that he was willing to argue. And that they may have just deferred to this sort of like, I'll talk to atheists because they're wrong. They don't realize that they're actually godly worshiping. And there was no way for the Jubilee people to sort of say, like, pedantic guy, debates atheists.
I think they explicitly told all those kids there that they were going to be debating a Christian. And,
without a doubt.
Yeah, and so Jordan Peterson, and that's what they labeled the video, like we said before it, and they had to change it because of this exact exchange where Jordan Peterson, out of fear of like being definite about anything, retreats from the label of Christian.
I just wanted to come in and tell these kids they didn't know what they were believing. I mean, because they weren't dying for it.
But isn't that such a tell? Like, this is where I don't, like, people's media literacy, or like when people listen to a guy like Jordan Peterson, honestly, I felt this way during the Ezra Klein debate. When you're not, like, basically, you're dancing around everything, or you're not specific when asked direct questions. Shouldn't that set off alarm bells for anybody that, like, wants a coherent argument that's given to them? Because for me, I hear that guy go either lunatic or complete snake oil salesman. One of the two.
I'm sort of just a little bit floored by it, by how sort of
unprepared he was.
Well, I think it honestly was just like, I'm going to come in there and the atheists don't exist. And therefore...
You're actually a religious believer. Me? You can't say what I am.
But the strangest thing is for him to set up this sort of like a belief is defined by whether you would die for something. And not a single person in that room, I would say, if you had said to him, like, do you believe in God? And they would say, no, I do not. They're all alive, and they're not... They're clearly alive because they don't believe in God. Yeah. If they believed in God and said that they didn't, then they would have to fight to the death for it to actually be a belief. I mean, by his own definition in terms of what constitutes a belief, But I think his argument must be that if you really like something, that everybody has something that they treat as a god. But I just don't think that's even remotely the case.
Pitiful. That's if you can be impressed by that, the whole like, oh well, you have to have some relationship with a transcendent that comes after you. That means you believe in God. Like that is just that again. That's pedantry and semantic fudging. Whereas you talk to somebody who believes in God, they think Jesus actually was put on the cross. In my family, was put on the cross, died for their sins. I don't believe any of this stuff, but that stuff literally happened. Jordan Peterson, I'd be curious to hear him talk about the historicity of Jesus and see where he agrees with that. I think he would probably give you an answer like this, where he's not really, what do you mean by historicity? What do you mean by this? Because he doesn't want to say that because he'll stop selling tickets.
What there is, I wonder if there isn't some parallel too between, and again, I'm, who knows what Peterson was actually trying to argue here, but the idea that, Ann Coulter had a book about this at one point where liberals have a religion. It's just called civics. Yeah. And they have made government a religion. And
cool. Civics is better than Christianity.
Civics is my religion, actually. Yeah.
But the point is that civics are actually sort of mutable by some form of shared, understanding, voting, referendum, representation. Civic life can evolve in a way that is not locked off.
It's a social endeavor.
It's a social endeavor. Religion, as far as I can tell, is a function of a deity having the final say on some level. And, different people have different interpretations of what that deity is, and there's rivalries within the context of that. But there is no sort of deity in the context of a civic religion. There are documents, there are charters and constitutions, and, that may function similar to a Bible, but they can be amended by humans in a way that the Bible theoretically, by I think believers don't believe can be. I think that's the point. You can have commentary, but you can't change what the Bible.
What do you mean by commentary, Sam?
I think this is a significant problem for Peterson. I think he's being eclipsed on the religious front by people like Russell Brand. I think his type of intellectual religiosity, I don't think people have time for it anymore. I think the sun's setting on it.
I mean, even Ben Shapiro, it's not religiosity, but the kind of like conservative wonkishness thing, or like whatever, this veneer of intellectualism is completely out the window. And wasn't he a Daily Wire pickup?
But also,
right? Like with their bankruptcy, how does that affect Jordan Peterson, or not bankruptcy, with them losing that money, how does that affect Jordan Peterson's employment? Right. I
also think that in terms of like just where the zeitgeist is, theoretically he won, right? Like he was able to defeat the trans agenda, and you can say the R word now, so you no longer have to make your bed. Because boys have been saved. It's a boys' world again.
The making the bed thing is funny because, ironically, the number one political streamer on the right is a guy who clearly does not make his bed and probably has a hoarding problem.
Right, that guy Asmongold, who I don't know anything about except that, like, what, he shits himself or something?
I don't know about that. I've seen a picture of his. I've seen a picture of his room, and it doesn't appear like he likes to take out the garbage.
Oh, the roach that came across his screen. Yeah. Yeah, that's so. But anyway, it's interesting that a guy like that would be appealing to the right in this way. I don't know. I don't understand this Twitch streamer space anymore.
Well, there's Jordan Peterson. I don't know if we'll get we got to dig into more of it. It just got released yesterday, right?
I got to say that I watched the whole thing, and those are the two best moments. The rest is kind of why I don't run in atheist circles a little bit, because a lot of the debates seem really pointless and abstruse. The only time that's fun is when they're accusing him of not actually believing God, which is the right angle of attack.
It's such a weird one to do, Because I don't associate him with like being a big, like Christian forward guy.
I don't know. All his lectures are all on the Bible stuff. I think he gained a big audience doing that.
There's always these ancient truths, right? Like that's what he's always talking about.
Adam and Eve. Oh.
Oh, yes.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.